Hello, fellow trans fans. So recently things at large have been feeling a little, shall we say, atypical. Perhaps you've noticed. And all this state-mandated staying at home got me feeling all introspective and existential. It got me thinking about this whole absurd robo-video thing that I do and where I was when I started it. When YouTube was without form and void, when I was Baru to Zaru. And I feel like there's a couple of reviews I always intended to make back then that I never did. And I've never quite got them out of my system. They all just stayed in there and stagnated for a decade and a half, like crumbs of half ideas all nastying up my brain sofa. So I reckon it's time to revisit a figure literally no bugger wants to hear about. I gotta do it, man. I gotta make this video or I'll never be satisfied. This one, just for daddy. Let's sweep the think dirt out of my mindset-y with Transformers Alternators Swindle. Now then, when Chaboy was first properly getting into Transformers, about 2006-7, Alternators were a big part of the robo-merch landscape, along with the early IDW comics, classics, blind-packed reissue Micromasters, those keychain mini-bots, you know, whatever they had at Forbidden Planet. But it definitely felt like Alternators were the thing. Like, they were big, complicated toys of retro characters reimagined as the real-world cars of the era, and because they shared the shelves with, like, what, Energon? They really felt like a bold new frontier of Transformers for grown-ups. They were a major force in the influx of G1 nostalgia that we're still ass-deep in today. Like, it seems unthinkable now, but this was the first time that a lot of these characters had shown up as not reissues since the actual 80s. But there was a pretty big asterisk for Decepticon fans. Like, because Alternators was A, based around licensed hyper-realistic car modes, and B, drawing from the OG character roster, there was kind of a built-in Autobot bias to the whole thing. Like, look at this, the whole squad was cars. It's in the name, for Christ's sake. And don't give me that autonomous robotic organisms thing. Bollocks. It's because they're cars. But as for the baddies, this was a world before Knockout and Barricade, a world before Lockdown. What must that have been like? There was literally just the Stunticons and like 4 other Decepticons to pick from, so pretty much the only cons in the whole thing ended up being begrudging Autobot repaints. Even the one that wasn't a repaint was basically Sunstreaker dipped in Bovril, which brings us to Swindle, who slunk onto the scene as a handsome hound recolor. Now this thing was kind of the peak of my personal Alternators journey. I mean, Swindle was a big childhood favourite of mine, and as a fledgling fandom noob, it blew my mind that my dumpy little mate had been graced with a huge-ass updated figure to stand alongside such stone-cold legends as Wheeljack and Jazz. To this day, it's the only one I still display, and one of 2 I can ever be bothered to transform. So we're gonna go along with the Alternators auto-centric approach and do the car mode first, because it so clearly wants us to. Real talk, Alternators hit us with some of the most legit vehicle modes of all time. I mean, check this thing out. Looking for all the world like just a miniature 24th scale model of a 2003 Jeep Wrangler in pineapple yellow, so painstakingly crafted and fiercely full-featured that you'd scarcely even guess it transforms. With perfect chunky safari-mobile style, that irresistible chrome bull bar, brazen branding, and only that cheeky Decepticon license plate even hinting at the robot within. There is some visible danglage down here, but it doesn't look like anything. And personally, this is my kind of chonkmobile. I mean, I've always preferred a smooth, luxurious ride, and Swindle seriously seems like it could take you anywhere. These wheels roll like a miracle, with thick rubber tires and suspension.
Test drive the premium off-road Doop-Dee-Doo.
Bit going on with features and that. Like, he's got proper doors with little sculpted handles and actual wing mirrors. The hood opens up and there's an engine. I don't know if it's 100% real world accurate, but I just love that they included it. Also, I adore that given half a chance, the bonnet will happily flip you off. But the real showstopper's gotta be the interior, man. This is where Alternators really went for it. Check out this 4-seater, fully upholstered superior interior with like a steering wheel, a glove box, CD player, aircon, gear stick, handbrake, cup holders. It's got fucking cup holders. Oi, so-called masterpieces, where's your cup holders? Answer me! Do you know what I mean though? They were aiming for flawless cars and they friggin' nailed flawless cars. It just oozes authenticity, from the wipers to the spare tire, from the petrol cap to the exhaust pipe. You gotta hand it to them. You cannot sleep on this Jeep. Oh god, I've gotta transform the f***ing thing. Oh no. animation's a touch awkward, but fairly fun and frivolous by Alternator standards. I mean, a lot of these things are a bit of a nightmare, so this is by far one of the friendlier ones. Full transparency though, I did actually lose a bit while I was prepping for this video. Like, this tiny bar from between the two head flap hinges sort of twisted itself loose. It is from 16 years ago, what are you gonna do? But my favourite bit is totally the little flip over Decepticon badge. It just makes my day every time. I don't know why I like that so much. So check out this big yellow yobbo. Yes, indeed, this is a robot that's very much a child of its time. Like, if you were to say, what if Transformers were photorealistic in 2005? I think this is where most of our imaginations would have been at. And doesn't that seem so quaint? I mean, it's more in the spirit of that dancing Citron ad than what the eventual live-action Transformers ended up looking like. Dumping on the movies, cannot help myself. Not to say that this is what Transformers should look like. I try so hard not to be that guy. Just saying, this is more what we expected from the movies before the movies. And I mean, look at this thing. You can't say this isn't weird as shit in its own way. The vibe I get from this thing is like, oh, do I have to? This is the contractually obligated humanoid form of a toy that just wanted to be a car. It's just so uncomfortable in itself. You can tell they had a hard time forcing all these disparate auto components to just about hang together and kind of imitate the shape of a robot almost. It's like almost a fraud, a visual cheat, a swindle? Like, the arms are terribly clumsy, looking slightly too short and stumpy and just about hanging in place, balanced on these ugly pokey outy poles. Posability's pretty much pathetic. There is some, but it ain't good. Definitely doesn't feel good. Legs are likewise blatantly bare bones with like full visible wheels. The mingingest ever exposed mechanical ankles. Mechanicals? And what even are those feet? There's like no effort to make them look like part of a robot. They're just fudged together out of whatever was left of the underside, with the spare tire flopping off over there. It just does not care. I mean, look at these waist wheels. I'm not even totally sure where they're supposed to go. They're always in the way of something. And the entire back is just beyond not giving a shit. Look at this. That entire brilliant interior's just on his back. Like a cape? You just... Alright, dude. What? You're too cool for your own robot mode? Are you, like, above this? And can we talk about the ridiculous baby gun? Like, are you diddling me right now? Am I being diddled? So, alright. Part of the whole Alternators thing was weapons hidden as car parts, like engine blocks and exhaust pipes and that. And I get that they wanted the Jeep guy to do something with the wheels, because he's the serious big tire bitch. But, I mean, did you forget how friggin' big this guy is? G1 Swindle is less than a third the size of Alternators Swindle, and still, he has a bigger gun. But even so, man, even though there is so much wrong with it, it still just kind of looks cool. Like, the colours are so rad. Just luscious, lively yellow and glorious gleaming chrome with hard-hitting blacks and shiny purple underpants. The head just full-on kicks ass in that serious angular cyber helmet with the cool-ass purple visor and grizzly groove gun. And the pure power of that giant jeepy boob block just packs so much clout, man. Like, the huge flat squareness of it just dominates, and that ballsy bling bumper is so boss. Just, don't look at it from underneath, yeah? And that's honestly classic Swindle. You gotta enjoy this thing on its own terms. It's got that sort of scrap heap challenge, barely assembled energy, but it does just about work. And it does feel weird to say that, because when I got him, I was blown away. Alternators just look very different now. And I'm not gonna say that time has ruined this thing, more like it's reshuffled the reasons I like it. Because look, we're in the future now. And yes, Alternators has kind of been blasted into obsolescence by every possible current Transformer toy line, but doesn't that kind of mean there's a little bit of Alternators DNA in everything we have now? It was a stepping stone, a daring dalliance into new heights of detail and complexity. Back then it kicked my ass, so now I bump its fist. But in all realness, none of that is why I like this guy. It's because he's Swindle. Check it out, as a kid I adored Swindle. He was like one of my main dudes. I mean, I didn't have any complete combiners back then. My Combaticon squad was just him and Onslaught. And I broke Onslaught, which in my naive little world, that made Swindle a survivor. Swanning around on his own with all Onslaught's accessories like a wasteland millionaire. But I don't really talk about him as much as I do with my other lifelong faves, because as time went on, it kind of faded away from me. See, as I got more and more into full-on collecting, of course I completed the Combaticon set, and then shelf space started getting tight, so I had to combine them into one, and then it kind of wasn't fun anymore. Certainly wasn't Swindle anymore. I mean, obviously Bruticus is great, but he's not my mate. Even when when Generations came along, I got the Unite Warriors box set. There was no Thrill of the Hunt, there was no solo Swindle time, it was just here they are all at once. Bada bing, bada bruticus. It just felt like Swindle was kind of gone, lost to me, subsumed into the gestalt, just as my humble ragtag childhood collection melted away into the swirling vortex of plastic that my life is now. Not complaining, but sometimes it do get on top of you. Plus I got rid of my animated collection like a fool, like a foolish fool. Thank heavens then for this bloody awkward thing. This stupid statue of swindly splendor, fitting in nowhere, combining with nobody, and just being what I need him to be. Just being Swindle. Alright, thanks for coming with me on this. I know nobody could possibly give a shit. I just had to get that one out. And I'm delighted that you let me share it with you. Catch you later, Alternator. I actually literally blew my voice out. Okay, thank you for watching. Hope you're all keeping okay. And big patrony thanks to Frostclaw of Space Portisy. Score one for the fairies. Stay fluffy.
Be sure to subscribe for more Thew's awesome subscribe reviews. Limited appeal, keeping it real.